Whether you're involved in marketing, customer service, communications, digital strategy, operations, or leadership, there's one thing that every organization has in common. Every organization delivers an experience. The question is whether that experience has been intentionally designed, whether it's pardon me, simply evolved over time. Today, we're going to explore a discipline that leading organizations use to create experiences that customers genuinely value, while simultaneously making life easier for employees and improving business outcomes. That discipline is service design. You are probably already familiar with terms like user experience, customer experience, or digital transformation. Well, service design connects all of those disciplines together. Instead of improving one website, one department, or one touch point, service design looks at the entire customer journey, from the first interaction through to long-term loyalty. And it asks one very important question. How can we make this experience better for everyone involved? In the next 30 minutes, we'll explore why customer experiences become a major competitive advantage. We'll look at what service design actually is and how it differs from UX and CX. And we'll discuss practical tools that organizations can use to improve and how websites and digital services fit into the bigger picture. We'll also look at ways that AI is changing customer expectations and why organizations need to think differently about designing services as they go forward. So whether you're in the public sector, private sector, education, healthcare, or a nonprofit, the principles we'll discuss today can be applied to virtually any organization that serves people. So we'll begin by looking at the shift that's changing the way organizations compete. Traditionally, organizations won customers by competing on price and better products. Then the focus shifted to better services. Today, the organizations that outperform their competitors deliver a better overall experience. Think about companies like Amazon or Apple, Starbucks, Airbnb, or Uber. People don't simply buy what they sell, they come back because the experience is convenient, intuitive, and consistent. Again, the same principle applies to any organization. Customers now compare every interaction, not just against your peers or competitors, but against the best experience they've had anywhere. If they can book an Uber in 30 seconds, they expect the same simplicity when renewing a permit, requesting a service, applying for a job, or buying industrial equipment. This is what we call the experience economy. The experience economy is where service design becomes super valuable. Most organizations don't intentionally design the experience they deliver. Instead, the experience evolves over time. Departments can end up working independently instead of holistically. Policies and people change, and processes can become less integrated and more complex. From the organization's perspective, everything may seem to be working, but from the customer's perspective, the experience can feel fragmented and frustrating. Service design takes a more global and holistic approach. Rather than looking at individual touch points in isolation, like the website or apps, the contact center, front counter, or sales associates, service design examines the whole end-to-end customer journey. It asks important questions like, where do customers experience friction? Where are they becoming confused, leaving, or abandoning the process? What do employees experience behind the scenes? which processes, policies, or technologies create unnecessary effort. By mapping both the customer experience and the internal operations that support it, organizations can identify opportunities to simplify, streamline, and improve every interaction. This is exactly what we do in the planning stage of a website's UX, where we identify potential barriers and friction points that might ultimately degrade the user's experience. With service design, the goal isn't only to ensure happier customers, although that certainly happens, and that's what we want. It's also about making life easier for employees, reducing operational efficiencies, lowering costs, and delivering more consistent outcomes. Ultimately, service design aligns three things that are often treated separately. It aligns customer needs, employee capabilities, and business objectives. When those three elements work together, organizations deliver experiences that are not only better for customers, but also more efficient and sustainable to operate. So, what kinds of business benefits are we actually talking about? Well, if we accept that organizations now compete on experience rather than simply on products or services, the question becomes, how do you consistently create a great experience? Well, the answer is intentionally. The answer is that great experiences are intentionally designed. Again, whether it's Amazon, Apple, Starbucks, or your favorite local business, the experience feels smooth because someone has deliberately thought through every interaction, leaving nothing to chance. That's service design. It provides the framework for designing every customer touchpoint, not just the website, not just customer service, but the entire journey from beginning to end. One important point I want to emphasize is that your website is incredibly important, but it's only one touch point. Customers form opinions before they ever visit your website, and again after they left it. Customers might discover you through Google. They might speak with your sales team. They might receive an invoice, call customer support, or interact with your field staff. Every one of those moments contributes to the overall experience. Service design helps organizations connect all of those touchpoint interactions. And when that happens, the business benefits can be profound. We understand that every organization delivers an experience, and that service design is the intentional design of every interaction between an organization and its customers. Notice that I didn't say website. I didn't say customer service, and I didn't say marketing. I said every interaction, because customers don't experience organizations in isolated moments. They experience organizations as a continuous journey. Think about planning a vacation. You don't judge an airline solely on the aircraft. You judge the entire experience. Was the booking easy? Were the confirmation emails clear? Did check-in go smoothly? Was the flight on time? Was your baggage waiting when you landed? If just one part of that journey breaks down, it influences how you remember the entire experience. The same principle applies to every organization, where individual experiences work together. That's why you'll notice that our diagram extends beyond the customer-facing elements. Yes, your website, again, is important. In fact, very much so. So too are your employees and your marketing and your communications. But equally important are the things customers don't see or rarely see. That is your internal processes, your technologies, your policies, your training, your organizational culture. Those are the behind the scene elements that determine whether employees can consistently deliver the experience your brand promises. And that's the essence of what a brand is. Brand is a promise. Now, imagine you've invested $50,000 in a beautiful new website. Customers can easily find information. Submitting an inquiry takes but a moment. The brand is properly represented. Everything looks and feels modern and professional. Then nothing happens. The sits in someone's inbox for 2 or 3 days. When someone finally responds, they might ask questions that the customer already answered in an online form. The proposal maybe arrives a week later than promised. Has the website failed? Not at all. The website performed exactly as intended. The service failed. And that's the important distinction. A beautifully designed website cannot compensate for poorly designed organizational processes. Likewise, outstanding employees often struggle to deliver exceptional service when the systems supporting them are inefficient. Service design recognizes that customer experiences are created by systems, not individual touchpoints. Service design aligns people, processes, and technologies so that every interaction supports the next. And for employees, when internal workflows are clear, when responsibilities are well defined, when technology supports rather than frustrates, employees will spend less time solving preventable problems and more time creating value for their customers. So, service design isn't simply about making customers happier. It's an organization that's easier to do business with and easier to work within. Ultimately, that's why leading organizations invest in service design. They recognize the exceptional customer experiences don't happen by accident. They're carefully planned and they're continuously improved. And they're supported by every part of the organization working together toward the same objective. That is the essence of service design. I'll share a current real-world example that demonstrates why service design matters. A few years ago, Starbucks found itself facing a challenge that many organizations will relate to. Sales were declining. Customers were becoming frustrated. Employees were under pressure. Many organizations would have responded by introducing a new product, maybe launching another advertising campaign, or offering more discounts. Starbucks took a different approach. Starbucks leadership asked a more fundamental question. Have we made it too difficult to be a Starbucks customer? That answer to that question lies in service design. Rather than focusing on the coffee itself, Starbucks examined the entire customer journey. Customers told the company that the experience had drifted from what originally made Starbucks special. Stores felt rushed. Service had become inconsistent, and employees were struggling to deliver the level of hospitality customers expected. Instead of introducing another seasonal beverage, Starbucks invested more than $500 million in improving the service experience. They increased staffing during busy periods. They introduced a 4-minute service goal. They redesigned store operations through a green apron service model. And they tied employee incentives to customer satisfaction and store performance. The emphasis wasn't on selling more coffee, it was on making it easier for employees to deliver the experience customers valued. The results were significant. Employee engagement improved. Partner retention reached record levels. Customer satisfaction increased. And for the first time in 2 years, Starbucks reported growth in both sales and profits. What's particularly interesting is that Starbucks didn't begin with a product innovation, they began with a service innovation. That's an important lesson for every org. When business performance declines, our instinct is often to change what we sell. Service design encourages us to first examine how customers experience what we already sell. Sometimes the greatest competitive advantage isn't a better product, it's simply a better experience. Oh, and by the way, Starbucks stock price today is up 24% year to date. Starbucks experience reminds us that customers don't judge organizations by one interaction. They judge the entire journey. So the next question becomes, how do we uncover the moments where that journey succeeds or breaks down? That's where journey mapping and service blueprinting become valuable. Some consider that user experience, customer experience, and service design are essentially the same thing. Well, they're not. They're complementary disciplines. Let's start with UX, or user experience. UX focuses on individual interactions, most often digital ones. It asks questions like, can customers find what they need? Is the website intuitive? Can they complete a task quickly and without frustration? UX is about making each interaction simple, efficient, and enjoyable. Okay, customer experience, or CX, is broader. It's how customers perceive every interaction they have with your organization, from discovering your business to using your products or services and receiving ongoing support. Customers don't think in terms of departments. They remember how easy or difficult it was to do business with you. And this is key, because an unhappy customer will tell more people about a poor experience than a happy customer will tell people about a positive one. Right. Now, service design. Service design is the discipline that brings it all together. Rather than focusing on that single touch point, it looks at the entire ecosystem behind the experience. It looks at your people, your processes, your technology, your policies, and even employee experience. It asks, how do we design the organization so that we can consistently deliver the experience we want customers to have? Here's an analogy. Consider an orchestra. UX is making sure each musician plays their instrument well. Customer experience is what the audience hears and remembers. Service design is the conductor ensuring every musician plays together in harmony. Without that coordination, even talented people and a great website won't make up for an inconsistent customer experience. You can invest thousands of dollars in a modern website with excellent UX, but if inquiries disappear into a busy inbox, sales takes 5 days to respond, or the onboarding process is confusing, customers won't remember the website. They'll remember the experience. That's why service design sits at the center of this presentation. It provides the framework that aligns people, processes, and technologies so great customer experiences happen consistently and not by chance. Right. Where do we begin? How does any organization implement service design principles? Well, they can start by asking this. How do we see the experience from the customer's perspective? That's where journey mapping comes in. A journey map is a simple visual representation of each step a customer takes as they interact with your organization, from the first awareness through to becoming a loyal advocate. It's one of the most valuable tools used in service design because it changes our perspective. Most organizations naturally view their services from the inside out, through departments, through their processes and their organizational structure. Customers, of course, don't. They experience one continuous journey. Journey mapping encourages us to step into the customer's shoes and see every interaction from their perspective. It helps us understand what they're trying to achieve, where they encounter friction, and where we have opportunities to build trust and confidence. When organizations adopt this mindset, conversations change. Instead of asking, how do we improve our website, or how do we improve customer service, they begin asking a much more important question. How do we improve the customer's entire experience? Because that's where meaningful improvements begin. So let's see what a simple journey map looks like and how it can help us to identify those opportunities. So looking at this chart, under the customer stage label, we see 9 steps. And those are the steps along the customer journey. The customer begins with discovery, then moves to research, then contacting the organization, and so forth. At each stage, the customer has a goal, and there's a touch point and a resulting emotion that the customer will feel as they move through each stage. Now, based on the customer's experience and the emotions that that experience produces, there may be an opportunity to do better. At each stage, we can ask a few practical questions. Well, what is the customer trying to accomplish? What are they thinking or feeling as they go through this process? Where might they be experiencing friction or uncertainty? Where do we have an opportunity to exceed their expectations? Those answers can reveal gaps that individual departments don't see because they're focused on their part of the journey, one part. For example, marketing may be generating excellent leads, but if responding to inquiries takes several days, customers won't remember the marketing. They'll remember the delay. Journey mapping helps organizations see the experience as the customer sees it and feels it. Journey mapping builds empathy, aligns teams around a common understanding, and helps prioritize improvements that will have the greatest impact on customer satisfaction and business performance. So a journey map can tell us what the customer experiences. The next step is understanding what's happening inside the organization. So if journey mapping shows us, again, the customer's experience, service blueprinting will show us everything happening behind the scenes to make that experience possible. Think about theater production. The audience sees the actors on stage. They don't see the lighting technicians. They don't see the stage managers or the costume designers or the sound engineers. Yet without those backstage activities, the performance couldn't happen. Organizations, of course, work exactly the same way. So in this chart, you can see the various components and roles that support the customer. Customer sees your website. They speak with your sales team. They receive invoices. They call customer support. But behind every one of those visible interactions are dozens of invisible activities. Employees following processes, technologies sharing information, policies guiding decisions, departments coordinating with one another, systems automating routine tasks. Service blueprinting connects all of these elements into one visual map. And why is that valuable? Well, because it exposes problems that customers feel, but employees often can't see. For example, a customer submits an inquiry through your website. From the customer's perspective, the experience is complete. Internally, however, that inquiry might pass through marketing, sales, administration, and management before someone responds. If responsibilities are unclear or technology doesn't integrate well, delays occur. And customers, again, conclude, oh, the company's slow. They don't see the broken process, they only experience the outcome. Service blueprinting allows organizations to redesign those internal processes before customers ever notice a problem. One of the misconceptions about customer experience is that it's created by the people customers interact with directly. In reality, it's created by the systems that support those people. When employees have clear processes, better technology, and well-designed workflows, they can consistently deliver exceptional experiences. That's why service design and service blueprinting benefits employees just as much as customers. Here's a practical takeaway. If I could recommend one service design exercise for an organization beginning this journey, it would be this. Select one important customer journey. For example, requesting a quote. Map the customer's experience from beginning to end. Then create a service blueprint showing every person, process, or system involved in delivering that experience. Bring representatives from marketing, sales operations, customer service, into the same room to review it together. You bring in your team. Within an hour, you'll almost always uncover improvements that no single department could have identified on their own. So we spent the last several minutes talking about customer journeys and service blueprinting. So let's bring the discussion back to something many of us think of every day. The website. Organizations often view the website as the ultimate customer experience. In reality, as we've seen, it's one important touch point within a much larger ecosystem. Nevertheless, as a touch point, the website has two important responsibilities. First, it must deliver an excellent digital experience. It should be efficient to navigate. Information should be easy to find. Tasks should require as little effort as possible. Customers should quickly understand who they are, who you are, why you're different, and what they should do next. Second, the website must connect seamlessly with the rest of the organization. Forms can't disappear into inboxes. Customers shouldn't need to repeat information. Sales, marketing, and customer service should all be working from the same information. That's why websites are becoming strategic business platforms rather than digital brochures as they were so often in the past. That said, improving experiences isn't enough. We also need to know whether those improvements are producing measurable results. Sorry, in our agency, we ask this. When we go into a project, we say, how do we build a better website? We that strengthens the entire customer journey. It's that shift that informs our UX decisions. So service design is not subjective. The outcomes are highly measurable. Customer satisfaction can be measured. Conversion rates can be measured. Call volume, support requests, tasks completed, employee engagement, operational costs, all of these metrics can tell us whether the experience is improving or not. For example, if redesigning a permit application reduces completion time from 15 minutes to 7, that's measurable. If improving onboarding reduces support calls by 25%, that's measurable. If simplifying a purchasing process increases online conversions, that's measurable too. These aren't simply UX metrics, they're business metrics. One of the biggest advantages of service design is that improvements can benefit everyone. Customers complete tasks faster. Employees spend less time fixing preventable problems. Organizations reduce costs while improving satisfaction. That's why organizations, again, invest in experience design, not because it looks better, but because it performs better. The goal must be continuous improvement. Measure, learn, improve, repeat. As customer expectations evolve, one of the biggest forces shaping those expectations is artificial intelligence. As we're all experiencing, artificial intelligence is changing far more than technology. It's changing customer expectations. Customers are becoming accustomed to immediate answers. They expect personalized recommendations and natural conversations, along with 24-hour availability. So organizations often respond by asking, well, should we add AI? Well, the better question is, where does AI improve the customer experience? AI isn't a strategy. It's another tool within service design. Sometimes AI is exactly the right solution. Sometimes improving a process eliminates the need for AI altogether. Successful organizations begin by understanding customer needs. Then they can determine where I may genuinely create value. Perhaps it's helping customers find information, so AI search. Perhaps it's summarizing complex content. Perhaps it's automating routine inquiries so employees can focus on higher value conversations. The technology matters, but the experience matters more. Service design ensures that AI enhances the customer journey rather than complicating it. And as AI continues to evolve, organizations that understand customer journeys will always have an advantage because they'll know exactly where technology belongs and where it doesn't. And that brings us to sum up today's presentation. Today, we've explored A simple but powerful idea. Organizations no longer compete only on products, services, or price. They compete on experience. We've discussed the experience economy. We've introduced service design. We've looked at journey mapping, service blueprinting, digital experiences, measurement, and the role AI is beginning to play. What all of these ideas have in common is this: each interaction matters. Every customer forms an opinion. Each employee influences that experience. And every organization has opportunities to improve. The encouraging news is that meaningful improvements don't usually begin with massive transformation projects. They begin with curiosity, asking better questions, looking at your organization through your customer's eyes, and identifying and understanding where friction exists. Then making thoughtful, incremental improvements. So with that, we wrap up our topic for today. You're more than welcome to email questions to me about this or other related topics. I can be reached at dale@graphicallyspeaking.ca. Thank you all for attending. Enjoy the day.